History is not a straight line, it is a storm. Empires rise like thunder, loud, overwhelming, certain of their own eternity, and then they fade. Not always in a single moment, not always in fire or defeat, but inevitably, they fade. The world has seen powers that once seemed unshakable, kingdoms that commanded continents, civilizations that believed they had reached the final form of greatness, and yet today, most of them exist only as ruins, as fragments, as echoes. But there is one land, one civilization that followed a different path, not untouched by war, not spared from invasion, not protected from destruction, and yet still here. That land is Iran. This is not a story of perfection. This is not a story of uninterrupted victory. This is something far more complex and far more powerful. This is the story of endurance. Long before many modern nations were even imagined, on the Iranian plateau, something began to take shape. Not just a state, not just a kingdom, but a way of seeing the world, a cultural core, flexible, adaptive, and deeply rooted. It would be tested, again and again, by some of the most powerful forces in history, and each time it would change, but it would not disappear. When Alexander the Great advanced eastward, his campaign was unstoppable. Empire after empire fell before him, and when he reached Persia, many believed this was the final chapter. The Achaemenid Empire collapsed, its palaces burned, its political structure shattered. To the outside world, this looked like the end of a civilization, but what they saw was only the surface. Because beneath the fall of an empire, the civilization itself endured. Alexander conquered the land, but he did not erase it. In fact, something unexpected happened. The conqueror was drawn into the culture of the conquered. After his death, the Seleucid Empire tried to impose a Hellenistic order, Greek language, Greek systems, Greek identity. But Iran did not simply resist, it absorbed. Over time, that foreign structure weakened. Local forces re-emerged. New dynasties rose, Parthians, then Sassanids, deeply rooted in Iranian identity. This pattern would repeat, not once, not twice, but again, and again, and again. Then came a new kind of force, not just an army, but a faith. The Arab conquests of the 7th century reshaped the region. The old political order collapsed once more, and again, it seemed like the end. But once more, what appeared to be destruction became transformation. Iran did not reject Islam, it embraced it. But in embracing it, it reshaped it. Through language, philosophy, literature, and scholarship, Iran became one of the central engines of the Islamic Golden Age. Think about that for a moment. A conquered land, becoming a defining force within the very civilization that replaced its old order. This is not weakness. This is adaptation at the highest level. Then came one of the most devastating invasions in human history, the Mongol Empire. They did not simply conquer, they annihilated. Cities erased, libraries turned to ash, entire populations destroyed. For many regions, this was an end from which they never recovered. But Iran, even here, did not vanish. Because what the Mongols encountered was not just territory, it was a civilizational gravity. Over time, the conquerors themselves were transformed. They adopted the language. They engaged with the culture. They became part of the very world they had once destroyed. And once again, Iran re-emerged, changed, scarred, but unmistakably alive. So what is this force? What allows a civilization to endure when empires fall? It is not simple. It is not a single answer. But at its core, it is culture. Not culture as decoration, but culture as structure. A system of meaning, a shared memory, a continuity of language, art, and thought. A civilization that can absorb without dissolving, adapt without collapsing, and rebuild without forgetting who it is. Iran was conquered many times. This is a fact. But here is another fact, just as important. It was never permanently erased. Every invasion left a mark. Every era reshaped it, but none of them ended it. Because Iran did something rare in history. It refused to define survival as resistance alone. Instead, it mastered transformation. Where others broke, it bent. Where others vanished, it adapted. Where others ended, it continued. Today, when we look at the ancient world, we see names that once dominated history, now reduced to artifacts. But Iran is not an artifact. It is a living continuity, a language spoken across millennia, a cultural memory that still breathes, a presence that has outlived countless powers. This is not about claiming invincibility. Iran has known defeat, it has known loss, but it has also known something greater than victory: return, again and again and again. That is its defining trait. Not the absence of sukut, but the certainty of bazgasht. So when we speak of strength, we should ask a deeper question. Is true power the ability to dominate for a moment, or to endure for thousands of years? Because history gives us the answer. Empires win battles, some win centuries, but only a few win time itself. And Iran, through all its trials, invasions, and transformations, stands as one of them. Not unchanged, not untouched, but unbroken in its continuity. A civilization that did not simply survive history, it became part of its foundation. And perhaps that is the final truth. The greatest strength is not in never falling, but in never disappearing. Iran did not refuse change, it refused extinction. And that is why it is still here.